Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer, and Dave brought a friend. This is exciting.
Yes, today we have my off-ice guru, Stephanie Siclori, who is the queen of the Bosu on Instagram. So everyone should go follow her because we've been working together for the last several months. And today we wanted to get her take on the Junior Grand Prix because it was maybe not the best weekend of
Perhaps.
And perhaps there was some skating technique we needed to break down among the top junior ladies that was perhaps concerning, and that they may need future off-ice therapists themselves. So if you are new here, please subscribe below and smash that like button. Stephanie, introduce yourselves to everyone. Yes.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Jonathan. I'm Stephanie. Thank you for the introduction. I'm so excited to be here. Backstory, I've been a huge fan of the show for the longest time, so I'm just thrilled to be here. And I have been working with Dave, yes, on off-ice for the past several months, and Dave is an Angel Boy student. If you know the Galena reference, you'll know it.
Three's good, yeah.
All right.
Good. Point your toe. Come straight through. Knees tighter. Yes. Better since bend position. Good. Keep your shoulders square to the front. Come through. Sit into your heel. Then up. One more good one. Extend your fingertips. Yes. Breathe. Come straight through. Knees over your second and third toe. And up. Good. That was a little swingy, that one coming into the sit. Good. Yep, that's better. Hold it, point your toe.
Oh my butt. Okay, yes.
Yeah, no, that's
So like when she talks about Victor and his brother, they are angel student, like angel, you know. And sometimes she is really an angel coach, as she will tell you that she is when she's not telling you.
Stephanie, were you an angel student of Galena's?
Not like Dave Lee's.
How could you be? Yeah, exactly.
But I was younger. I took from Galena back in the 90s in Connecticut. I was about 13 to 18 when she was my coach. So a very impressionable time in my life.
Stephanie upset her at a competition, and then it came out that she was wearing a dress of a stupid color. So, you know, it's all
very serious things. Yeah.
So I had a summer competition dress that was a beautiful salmon pink, a perfect dress color for summer. And she always referred to that dress as stupid color, the stupid color dress.
Okay. Not a fan of salmon.
Apparently not.
Okay.
You know that she also, she tried to change my Matthew Caron costume after I got it.
It was like such like a moment, that costume. Yeah.
I told her he was too busy. It was just, you know.
This is what we're dealing with. Yeah.
So also the real situation is that, so Hugo Chouinard is like the music guru of all gurus. And this year I really wanted to skate to, well, first I really wanted to do circles. And Olivia Smart was so generous to actually let me use her edit, because Hugo Chouinard and Carl Hugo, who writes the original music, like he composed original music for Shoma, for Dancing with Myself. They do like all the interludes and they add the orchestration to like build it. Originally I wanted to use that music, but then La, who's been on the show before, was like, you know, it's the same shit you skate to every year. And you know, when La says something, it's mean, but she's always right. You know,
and it really lands. It really lands.
Like, really landed in a place where like I had that like feeling before, and I was like oh my God, am I gonna wear the same color? Like, what is gonna happen, right? And then like when you see Amber Glenn skating to it with like the bad edits and the bad pantomiming, I'm like, oh dear God, like I just can't, right? And I was in Boston and I was like, we just can't do this. So I had found this music because Hugo has these amazing playlists, music that he's done for anyone. And like, I went through it because I'm very picky. And there was this song by Haven called Fortitude, and it just needed some amping up. And they like composed this whole original part. And like everyone, like 99% of the people loved it.
And that 1%?
That 1% who did not.
Was named.
Said absolutely not. Like, just like no discussion. And I was told that I'm going to do a sexy blues program because I am Polish, and Polish people, you know, you have interesting character inside, like very understanded blues, very emotional inside, like coming out. And
so Poland is where the birth of the blues took place.
Apparently.
I've got it wrong this whole time. Okay.
Apparently these moody Polish people, they just understanding blues so much, you know.
Now, is this the clip I saw where she's yelling at you to be sexy?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And nothing is more sexually inspired than being yelled at to be sexy. Yeah. Okay.
As she's telling you that your pose is not sexy. And then she wants you to use ugly leg. Oh, right. You know, yes. So,
okay.
It's going to be a journey. It's going to be a
Makes me
nightmare.
wonder what she was yelling at Victor in the mid-90s when he was wearing that
I don't think so.
jersey.
But Stephanie was there in Connecticut when she was yelling at Oksana about the Genie Lamp program, which you know also was probably worth a reality show.
You were there for the birth of an iconic program then, Stephanie.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were a lot of moments.
Iconic and otherwise, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a mess of a year. I'm just like, it's just,
We're here for it.
We're here for you, Dave.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really so much. You know, she told me that I pick music that I want everyone to tell me what a good boy I am, and that she's fucking sick of it. So,
But if you're skating for approval, that's going to register.
You know, this is why we're doing the blues, Jonathan, because you know, it's not going to be uncomfortable at all. You know, it's
I think it's going to be supernatural. Yeah, full of confidence after being yelled at for not being sexy.
Especially watching her do the moves. That's the best part.
Yeah, sometimes a visual example will just totally get you there. So that's great.
Yeah. So and the best thing is that I had sent her like, so originally there's of course like a 12 or 13-year-old girl who is skating to Caught Out in the Rain, which is what Hubble and Donahue skated to, which of course is like, you know, maybe not so age appropriate, but great music, which, you know, I don't think anyone is like paying attention to the lyrics, but if you do, incredible, right? So, and it was on, and that's when like the blues idea really cemented, you know, and so I had sent ideas, and she wants me to do Love is a Bitch, which of course Jason Brown did, which of course, you know, that all of the adult skaters would be like, look at her skating to that. Who does she think she is, right? And so I found another piece, of course, by the same artist that's called I Think I'm Drowning, which I thought would be perfect. No.
It has been decided.
It has been decided.
Yeah.
Okay. And she goes, you know, I think my daughter should do program, not because she is my daughter. And I'm like, because she's moody like you and can understand the blues. Like, you know, that's where we're at. So this is the real.
Which,
you know,
just is like a little like transition into the Junior Grand Prix here, because there was a girl with an oddly similar name to her daughter on the roster.
Yes, that is
It
correct.
was just close enough that I was like, Nina Petrenko was competing here. No. But
It was on vacation, and if you missed the Nina photos on her Instagram, she was eating some sort of like meat, but like really showing off her body on Instagram. She was looking great and living her best life in Mexico. Okay.
The Estonian skater who was 7th was Nina Petrokina. And it was just at like a visual, I was like, oh my gosh, Nina's competing on the Junior Grand Prix. It's amazing. Yeah, someone get me a ticket.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the people who were, so anytime Isabeau, of course, Isabeau Levito is for our South Jersey girl, and she has been rivals with Lindsay Thorngren for a long time. And because Yulia is such an intense personality of coaching, I may like to tell her from time to time how much Isabeau is my favorite little skater, just to see her reactions, just joking. You know,
just to poke the bear. Yeah.
Yeah. She might have known exactly what I was doing. So what did you guys make of Isabeau here? So at this stands with the Junior Grand Prix, they're likely going to go by highest score to make the final. So though Lindsay won last week, it wouldn't get her, usually it would get you about 12 points to move ahead to the final. So when they are going, they're really going to go off of top score. So if the events keep climbing in score, those who did well in the first event, you know, it would mean likely nothing. So what did you make of Isabeau's Junior Grand Prix debut?
Let's hear from Stephanie, because everyone knows I love her, but I'm confused by her jumps. So if you want to talk about how you love her and help me understand why I'm confused by her jumps, that would be great.
Stephanie, are you concerned by the cranking of Isabeau's low back on some of her jumps?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a little out there, but overall, I thought she had a beautiful program. I loved her opening double axel, very nice light knees, very charismatic, great lines and expression and artistry, but about halfway through, she kind of started to lose some steam. And then the program kind of, not that it went downhill, but it kind of went downhill, in my opinion. She started to lose some speed and it lost its appeal to me. Overall, though, I thought she was great. I think she clearly was the winner of the competition. I think she has a lot of potential and a lot of spunk and pizzazz and beautiful flexibility.
I think the spunk and pizzazz is really what carries her, even though there's a real lack of speed. She does have really nice qualities overall, and she's obviously very tiny. So to get into the ice to get that speed would be a challenge, but it worries me. It reminds me of Caroline Zhang, when you would see her slow down before her jumps and then do things where she was cranking her body. And then as soon as you grow, it all hell breaks loose. And
yeah, the magic here is, it's interesting because she's so stunning, but she's so stunning because she hits these really gorgeous positions. She's one that I fear I might enjoy less in person based on speed and ice coverage, but the actual like moments she creates and arm positions and extensions and all these things and that flexible back is so amazing. Now, when we saw her just a few weeks ago, her jumps were landing where she was a little bit more, she was breaking at the waist. She was landing a bit forward on everything, which she wasn't doing as much of here. But again, there's something about it as not someone who is in tune with that kind of technique. I was like, I don't see this really sort of lasting her in the long run. And I'm already like afraid to get so excited and behind her because she's one I feel could break my heart as a fan.
Yeah, because especially
this is a heartbreaker.
4.5 years to go to the Olympics at this point in time. And if you think about how a girl that age is going to grow and get older and taller and the mileage on the body, you know, what she still does break at the waist when she does those combinations. So I think it's concerning.
It was a little less, but I think the problem, whatever the fundamental issue is still very much happening. Yeah.
Do you think she's slowing down before the jumps even more to kind of make the jumps happen, Stephanie? Like, what is your take on her lack of speed? And I mean, she doesn't slow down before jumps as much as like Caroline Zhang did, where Caroline Zhang used to come to like a stop before her double out of her. But when you watch a triple loop, like she kind of crawls into it to crank that bot.
Yeah, my take on that is it's just a lack of confidence going into it. So you slow down to kind of like almost like a deer in headlights, like you know what I mean, and then jump. So I think But on the flip side with her, you know, maybe over time and as she solidifies the program and gets more comfortable with it, she'll be able to just find her way through the jumps. Because I mean, overall, I think she's a very stunning girl, very stunning skater.
Well, and even like you're saying, after sort of like a triple loop entrance that was very, very little speed, for her to be able to do that sort of curve around and then that like pop up on the toe pick and stuff, I'm impressed she is able to do as much on the run out of the jumps as she is, given that they seemed so slow and kind of unsure going in.
Mm.
But,
Well, I think with her, like she would have to have a bad year to adjust the technique. And now that US figure skating is so behind her, that's just not going to happen, right? They're never going to be like, let's take the time to really fix the technique. They're going to keep trying to force it to keep the results where they are. Unfortunately, it's almost, she's so young on the Junior Grand Prix and it almost feels like it's too late to fix it because they've had to.
because they won't take the time. They won't want to give up the success.
Well, why are you going to do it if you are all of a sudden getting all of that attention and your parents are getting used to that attention and your coaches and you're getting the huge scores that she's getting on the Junior Grand Prix? When she stops getting those scores, it's already going to be too late.
Right.
Because you know, the more exposure they have to the lack of speed over time, when by the time that hits, if say like in a year and a half, they start like not giving her as many points because you know the trick has worn off in terms of what she can do and the novelty, it becomes a problem. And I think we see it with the eteri girls. I mean, we see it with the eteri boys, which we'll discuss later, but that bad technique failing like clockwork on her boys. So
Especially as she grows too.
Yeah.
Because as you grow and you have to rely on your technique at that point, and
it's just not.
But like just a side note about this week, especially compared to last week, with the exception of the Canadian skater here, the top 5. I'm just going to be an old fuddy-duddy, but I'm also going to clarify that like all of this classical music we heard this weekend was amazing to me. And not just because I'm a purist, but because literally no one does it anymore. There's still this narrative that like, oh, we're so tired of classical music. But when you really look at most programs, they are not. It's all this like whiny singer, songwriter, sort of ballady kind of emo music time and time again. So just the fact that so many of these girls were bringing this like really decadent music sort of classed up the whole experience for me. Where I think if you took the same kind of skating and put it to the same emo ballads of last week, I would be less inclined to keep watching. I don't know. It was a nice pendulum swing, it looked like, with this group of ladies.
Yeah, I mean, I think for music choices, absolutely. I did find, and this is so, I don't want to be dismissive, but because the top Russian skaters aren't here, because of the top Japanese ladies weren't here for the first couple of weeks, we are discussing skaters that we probably wouldn't have paid attention to. So in one hand, it does feel weaker, but I don't think the standard of skating is necessarily that much less. I just think that we are missing skaters who weren't here. But when we saw the Russian skaters at the junior test skates, they were not as prepared as they usually are. And I wonder if it's because they knew they weren't going to be on the Junior Grand Prix. Because the rumor about France not accepting the vaccine was around all summer, that they were not going to allow the Russian juniors in for those early events. So it's definitely. What do you think of Kaiya Ruiter? So we saw her last week, we saw her this week. So
She toned down her makeup. I mean, I know, again.
She heard you, Jonathan. She heard that mean guy on the stage.
No. I was like, I felt like.
Also, Wesley Chu from Canada, also skating as a biblical whore to Samson and Delilah, or is it only the people at my rink who are biblical whores when they skate to Samson?
No, he's not playing Delilah. He would be playing Samson, I guess.
How do you know?
He had short hair.
Did you ask Wesley who he's portraying?
You should ask Keegan, yeah.
Did you ask Lindsay if she knows what Samson and Delilah is? You know, it still came up. They did a Daily Spirit Day, and someone goes, well, you know, he called her a whore. And I was like, first of all,
you don't know how to listen to words because.
Second of all, John said it. Third, he said the music was about it.
These people,
a Russian drama at the rink never goes away.
Yeah, they just grab a headline and run with it. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, I have to say, of the top 5, she was the least just captivating to me. And I think she's probably doing everything she's told. It's clear she does put effort into, you know, sort of her position and all this sort of stuff. Just in general, she even jumps lefty, so I should like her more. But I just inherently am not drawn to her the way I was drawn to the 3 Korean ladies and Isabeau here.
He's all Canada has. You know, they are back to, you know, status quo with their ladies field. So Jonathan, tread carefully, okay?
Yeah, no. And it's that's what I'm saying. Like, she stopped doing anything wrong. Just it doesn't grab me personally.
Interesting. I have the opposite take. I actually really enjoyed her. I thought she had a lot of energy, a lot of personality, great speed. She needs a little bit more speed on her spins, was the note that I wrote down. But I didn't love her music cut. She had Milan, and there's plenty of great music from Milan, but she didn't pick the most flattering pieces, if you will. And I didn't like that cut into the Christina Aguilera vocal.
Also, can a white girl be doing Mulan at this point? Like, I don't know, like, what is allowed at this point? It's getting very dicey.
I mean, to use the soundtrack, sure, to portray the character is like when it really seems to come into question in certain things. But I also didn't find she was necessarily playing a character. She was just sort of skating to the background music.
With elevator music on in the background.
Kind of, but like that's what we're saying in some of these stories. They really take on that character, and others are just using it as a background.
Why are her she's so bad if Scott Davis is her coach? Was he just a natural spinner, Stephanie, or was
Scott Davis was a great spinner? I remember Galina always, because I was also in Simsbury at the same time, and she would always comment about how wonderful Scott and how fast and centered his spins were.
Was he a full angel boy, or was he just like not getting yelled at?
Well, so in terms of Angel Boy, I mean, I don't think anybody can top Victor and Vladimir.
Yeah.
Except for Dave Leese. But everybody else is secondary to Vladimir and Victor.
But I don't know. I mean, obviously he wasn't doing the different variations that she is doing, but if anyone is going to get, you know, someone fast spins, it's so funny because Yaro Panyat at the event in Boston a couple of weeks ago was like crawling on his spins. And if anyone is going to get you fast spins, it's Todd Eldridge or Scott Davis. So
unless I always believe this in the teaching of music, unless Scott just sort of came that way. You know, I find it's probably the coach that struggled the most with a thing that will be able to teach it the best. And things like that they were inherently naturally gifted at, they probably don't have the same amount of tools to give someone struggling in a different way. It has always been my take on it.
I don't know, because Alyssa Sisney is one of the best teachers of spins. And obviously she was amazing at it. But
did she have to learn how to be such a good spinner?
Yes.
Or was it?
Yeah, you just said that they just spent all their time on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know anyone that just came out of the womb like a good spinner.
I feel like Scott and Todd did.
Yeah, Scott for sure.
Yeah.
So maybe they just need to spend a few more lessons dedicated strictly to spins with her.
Well, the funny thing with Kaiya is that last week at the Junior Grand Prix, I thought that some of her triples were quite under-rotated. But, you know, Canadian fans are ready to send her to the Olympics. I think Maddie Schizas has had a slower start to the season at her first 2 competitions and hasn't gotten the scores that maybe people wanted her to get after her strong season, you know, at the end last year, obviously only a couple competitions, but I think that Maddie will get better over time throughout the season. But people were ready to thrust Kaiya in like a Gracie Gold, let's send her to the top quite way. But I think that there's still work to be done. Not that I don't think that she could get there, but I think
when she had the interesting advantage of sort of going back to back, which I mean, without all the extra travel, without all the extra adjustments of like sort of COVID settling in there and all that sort of stuff, I actually wonder if she felt more settled going into this second weekend of competition for her, because she was one of the only ones that did that.
Well, it's such a benefit to the one problem. So is that Courchevel is at altitude. So she's been at altitude for a long time. She'll actually improve when she comes back. It'll be much easier for her.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I got on board with that. I thought, oh, maybe that's what I would have wanted to have done as an athlete, is like knock them both out like
What did you think of the Koreans? You know, Chaeyeon Kim, Seong-ji, who we saw last week, and An-sun Yoon. Did they stand out?
So the silver medalist here, I adored. She did the Rachmaninoff, right, for the short program. And there was something, and this is, again, just a thing that it's not about a specific talent or completed move, but just something about her carriage. I'm just drawn to her. I'm just drawn to the way she inherently has her sort of center of gravity as she moved around the ice. She seemed so centered, nothing seemed sort of too high, and she had like great, I don't know, I just really liked the way she just moved on the ice. So I was automatically in, no matter what she was doing. I really liked her.
Is she the one that did the it was called ambush for her free skate?
Correct.
Yeah. Did you like her step sequence?
Well, if you're asking the question, Tiffany, what'd you think?
More specifically, did you like her lack of expression on the step sequence? To me, she just had this expression of I can't be bothered.
I found most of the skaters here more forgettable this week after Isabeau and Kaiya. I have to, just in general, in the junior ladies. Just
I did like the ambush music. There is something, and also I was thinking about this with the Rachmaninoff also. When there is this, you know, we've talked about people will wear that extra sort of flowy fabric, so it seems like they're going even faster on the ice. There is also something within the music when there's this like inner turmoil that keeps the beat going, that sort of like feeds this excitement and speed and energy. And so in the Rachmaninoff, you hear the da, 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 da. But underneath it is like, so it suddenly makes you think everything is more exciting in the skating than it is. And I thought the ambush music was brilliant at that, because there were sort of these more percussive moments that could have fallen even more flat if she was using a different sort of background in the music. I don't know, I kind of had a moment with her. I was in for it.
Now, how about Seung-ji? Last week, we were really high on her. And she did stay here, but it didn't seem to help her being in Courchevel.
Especially the step sequence I felt she was given good material and she has a nice way about her. She just didn't feel like committing fully to it this time.
So with your love of the classical music this week, Jonathan, like where is Piano Concerto No. 2 for you? Because it's obviously just, you know, it's making a comeback in skating.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone away.
Really go away. But I'm telling you, if you like, I feel like the ad, if you like rock 2, you're probably also gonna like 1, 3, and 4. So why don't you pop in those CDs at some point?
It doesn't have it yet, okay?
Yeah, I was like, everyone has to find a copy of the first. Some people will skate to the 3rd, and the 4th is highly undervalued, I think. But again, take the idea. You love that idea? He has so much of that kind of material. So it would just be so unique if you were giving us all that Rachmaninoff feeling of the 2nd piano concerto, but you were actually doing the 4th. I don't know, it would make you stand out more.
Speaking of music, I had to do a total therapy session with a fan last week who's watched our show for years and always very supportive and very nice. But it's funny is that, you know, we talked about the Malagueña, which Boykova were using, and that we didn't like their version. But the person was confused, and they were like, but Sasha Cohen had such a good Malagueña. And I'm like, no, I'm not talking about Malagueña. I'm talking about the actual
arrangement. Yeah.
I'm talking about, so Christy and Sasha used the Stanley Black Orchestra. And I said, Maria Buchirskaya and Boykova Kozlowski are using some, I don't know, it sounds like cats, like screeching on a record player or something. And then-
But with castanets, yeah.
I sent the different versions. I explained, I talked it out, I affirmed.
Wow, very thorough, Dave. Good for you.
Listen, you cannot get the loyal people turning on you because they loved Sasha Cohen. That's a gay fantasy, Jonathan, okay? Sasha.
And we love that Malagueña. I
offered Malagueña to Galina and she said no, because I'm not Spanish, I'm Polish. It's not my character. I need to do blues.
Yeah, okay.
That was also one that was shot
I
down.
love the cultural affiliate. Malagenia is inappropriate for people with Polish heritage, but obviously blues, easy peasy, no brainer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Galina gave me Malagueña for my novice short program.
Maybe Stephanie, it's fine. You're Italian. You know,
I guess.
That's kind of close. Kind of close.
It was. This is not your music. It was. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jonathan, you know why she knows, Jonathan? Because she's an Olympic coach, which she'll tell you at least once a practice.
As if you had forgotten. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Which Olympics was it again? Yeah.
Oh, no. Listen to me. I am Olympic coach. Okay. This is.
Yeah.
So, yes. Yeah. I went to get her phone from a bag this week. And I didn't I grabbed the wrong one. Oh, mine is much more expensive. Price like Chanel, you know.
Like Chanel.
Russia designer, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my God. All right. The men here, how do we be politically?
I would like to, Stephanie, props to female skaters. Because it seems like they always have to do twice as much work as the men to get the same titles. Like, this is sort of what we felt, or I felt anyway, last weekend also. The medals being awarded by the ladies had superior performances to those of their male counterparts, just in general.
The male field here was
less competitive than the ladies.
You know, when the winner falls multiple times on jumps that aren't fully round, whew, you know when you're catching up on that event that it's not the most beautiful of all time.
This is perhaps where I most miss the Japanese, because there are several Japanese junior men that are very exciting at the moment. And obviously many Russian junior men as well. So I look forward to sort of seeing those guys as the season progresses.
Now, were you happy to see the Samson and Delilah Muse music make a comeback?
I think you know the answer to that.
Jonathan, you're like now the king of Samson and Delilah for me. Of all,
Which, I mean, honest to God, that music is
I'm sorry,
amazing.
Samson and Delilah. Okay.
Then it would be Samson et Delilah, because the opera is E.T., right? Not and, yeah. So it's a whole moment. You could really go for it. But I said he should be wearing a wig then. He's really going to do the part. Yeah.
I mean, the men here, you know, they went out and they got experience. How would Tracy Wilson
They tried.
No,
I do think they did.
No. This is skating. You have to lay the bullshit on so thick in a Canadian way.
They don't have Galina for a coach.
You know,
That's what they need.
You know, I think that the men, they really went out there. I was trying to do Tracy and you brought that up and that went south.
Took you a different way.
That comment would be. You know, the men, they're getting experience early in their careers and
putting out some new difficult jump elements first time.
They're really showing what they can be as they grow on this Junior Grand Prix. And that's what the Junior Grand Prix is about, Ted would tell us.
Bravery, use the word bravery, because some of those jump attempts were indeed rather brave.
There were some courageous moments.
Courageous moments, that's an excellent way to put it.
You know, I don't think that they weren't courageous, because obviously anyone who puts themselves out there is. I just don't know if it was an appropriate strategic risk, is what I would say.
Yeah. And an ice dance, no.
Well, the ice dancers were the Browns, who have been around for a while.
Talk it out. The first moments of the rhythm dance. Are we having fun, or are we uncomfortable to like skating in that moment?
Well, Jonathan,
I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the effort, and it's clear that like this reminds me. I don't know what people's religious affiliations are, but there was some point when the church was losing people and they thought the way to go was to modernize the service and be hip and accessible. But of course they weren't hip and accessible. It was like kind of cheesy and forced and awkward. And it sort of backfired. And that reminded me a little bit of that opening sequence with the rhythm dance. is just my personal opinion. It started me off with a wall. But their free dance was lovely, I thought.
I liked the free dance a lot.
Yeah.
Free dance was nice. I like the Charlie White hairstyle too. That's that's all I kept. It was distracting me. It's all I kept thinking was this is like a Charlie White wannabe.
Oh my God. So someone sent me a photo of Champs Camp, and it was a roundtable discussion of some of the most authentic people in skating. It was Scott Hamilton, Daryl Davis and Charlie White, Evan Lysacek. Who do you think was giving the most honest answers there? That was...
I bet actually Scott was.
Maybe?
Scott or Meryl?
See, I don't.
Meryl would say it in such a way that it would just sound so great, right? It was just, yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Where were Tara and Johnny in this round table?
I don't, well, I'm sure that they had to get paid to do it with US figure skating. So I don't know how that all works with those events. Or who volunteers to go to Champs Camp so they get, hired to go somewhere else. I don't know how all of that works, but listen, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So, to go to Champs Camp, I do think that we're going to start hearing things from Champs Camp. Jason Brown went not in ideal condition because he's had, the foot injury throughout the summer. So I do wonder whether the tide will start turning in that direction, whether with that injury. And you remember at Champs Camp 4 years ago, this is when Ashley Wagner showed up with Moulin Rouge again after she had been in all the commercials all summer. And then when someone seems like a lock, and then it starts to slip away, or at least make the season more interesting. So I don't know. It's
unusual timing because like on those rare instances when at Champs Camp they're sort of like, "Ooh, we highly recommend you pull the plug on this one. Try something else." It does seem rather late.
It is late.
To make those kinds of drastic decisions, so that even though sometimes they may be advised to make the right move, which is almost to start again in some cases, I could see how you're like, well, we've kind of lost so much time already. We'd rather make this work, which is also where we've seen people go awry. Yeah.
Apparently, one of the teams that had more programs panned at Champs Camp than others were Davis and White. At least two, I remember. There's one infamous one that all we ever heard is that they had a program that was about a typewriter once. It was a short dance because it was called back then, but it was something about a typewriter. I wish we still had like the Ice Network. It was like a Lynn Rutherford article. It was like written in a way that, seems innocuous, but there was some shade there about how they did something, a short dance about a typewriter theme. And they showed up, to the Grand Prix, obviously, with a much different
So laptop.
I forget. But don't you think like US figure skating should do us all a solid and like put that program on their YouTube, because they tell everyone like, oh, this was, the example of like, see, they redid their program and they had a great season. It's okay. It's not that bad as they're telling you. So don't you want to see it?
Yes, we need to see it.
Yes. Yeah, there's all those sort of like missing programs, like what was it that was thrown away?
I think we need to see like, obviously Nancy's monitoring session before the Olympics and Michelle's monitoring session. Put it on their YouTube channel. We can all watch, right?
Yeah.
Missed opportunities. Yeah. What did you think of the event in Russia over the weekend, the local competition where we started to see some of Eteri's boys? We were talking about technique failing. And I've loved Arseny Fedotov since he was on Ice Age and all of his pizzazz, but we've always talked about, the Eteri axle technique and how they don't always use the left arm. And Eteri hasn't had any success with boys, really. And you start to see even Mark Lukin, who was more successful last year, it looks like it's failing on all of the boys. And it's depressing to watch. Like, do we just send... Stephanie told me that she wants to send the boys to Plushenko and that she thinks that we should just keep the girls with Eteri and move the boys away.
Is that what
Stephanie's giving an indicator that she may or may not have said.
I don't recall this conversation, but
I did think that was you. Maybe it wasn't.
I don't think it was me.
But so Stephanie, let me...
Someone called me in a therapy moment. Well, Stephanie's a big fan of Plushenko's Instagram in general.
Yes.
That is correct. Okay. Yes,
that is correct.
But so I am intrigued, Stephanie, when you see someone like Fedotov, is that how you say it? That he has all this talent, all this pizzazz, but what I'm getting as a viewer is just sort of a sense of hysteria and like unorganized, frantic rushedness. I don't know if that's a part of the sort of technical problem. I don't know, something just seemed very anxious and hurried and like slapped together, like hurry, just try this kind of idea, as opposed to, we were talking about Isabeau taking a lot of time setting stuff up. He seemed very frantic and hurried. I don't know what you're
I did not see him. I didn't see his performance, and I'm actually not familiar with who he is, but
so he was this boy that was on Ice Age and was adorable. And he did all of the Dudikov technique, right? But unfortunately, as we see these boys grow, there's been just like a history of like these like very short skaters, the boys, always from Sambo 70, and I mean dozens at this point, that all tend to have a similar haircut and look about them, and then they all become injured and we never see them again. I mean, people talk about the girls being an assembly line, but like the boys is like the boulevard of broken dreams. It's like, where did they all go from? Like Aryan Pikayev, and then, you know, Samsonov was here and in, and there was the boy who did the Holocaust program, and there's this one and that one, and you see them and they all go. And with Arseny, he had it was sad. But Mark Lukin also having a rough go. So
yeah, pulled out a quad double, but yeah.
It's interesting though why eteri doesn't have a strong male student base. Obviously, we know she's the queen of ladies skating, but what happens with these boys?
I mean, she has blamed it literally on sort of the gender differences in the work habits. It sounds like that she cannot do her like tough routine with the guys because they can't hack it like the ladies can. That was that big quote. And I think there's something to that, even as we see in France last weekend and this weekend, you see a different level of intensity and output coming out of the ladies than perhaps you see of the men at the same age.
So, I mean, look, I think there are two factors here. One, there are obviously so many more female skaters than male. And especially with the dominance that they have in Russia, if you're a girl that goes into figure skating at a very young age, you know that you have to work your absolute tail off to get to that level. And I think that that's the culture of success breeds more success in that sense. But when you look at the guys, I think their physical maturity and how it changes and how it happens at different ages, I think is a huge factor here, because we have not seen one of those boys grow up and become
But I guess what I'm getting at with Fedotov is that even with the ladies, if there is disagreement in the type of technique that they are employing, that's one discussion, but they all seem clear on the technique they are using. And
it fails them all absolutely every time.
Yes, without but like with the male skaters, I often see like sort of a chaotic thought process enacting itself out, in that they don't really have a consistent plan. Everyone seems to be winging it a little bit more on their jumps and experiencing troubles in totally different ways, where again, if there are problems in the ladies, it's usually consistent to the type of technique, but at least it's clear what their technique is. I don't know. With the men here, I was having
it's pretty similar, I would think. Some of the axles has never been the strength of that school, so they have slightly different variations based on the skater and what they try. But I mean, Valyeva being able to do an axle like that is also, you know, an anomaly and a fix. But in general, their axle technique has not been as solidified as the others, and it's been something that they've probably tinkered with more than the other jumps. But you could tell that it does seem to fail. The boys have similar problems if you pay attention, like to like really look at like what starts happening at like similar ages. But by the time the boys are 15, 16, they almost feel younger than the girls. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it has to probably do with when they're growing and having their growth spurts and things like that. But yeah. We don't even see them make it to the point where we talk about the assembly line. So I don't know. It's not the best, but we do have a couple updates. So the Grand Prix that was supposed to be in China is going to be in Italy this year. It's going to be in Torino. So it's going to be the third event. And it got, look, I have to say that I am impressed with the ISU in the fact that they had a cancellation, which who knows how much sooner it was from the announcement, but it was announced. And then they accepted bids. And in like clockwork, other federations had it, you know, had their stuff together. Italy got it right off the bat. There was even talk that the Skating Club of Boston wanted to get that event there. So, I mean, they're definitely hosting more and more events at SCOP since they've had that arena. And then, you know, the US Figure Skating Classic is coming there next month and Trucipa will be there. So, and listen, I want to see that in person. I'm ready. Okay, yeah. I am ready. Yeah. And we're starting to get some program announcements. So Fear and Gibson announced that they're going to do a Kiss rhythm dance, and they are going to do the Lion King for their free dance, which okay. There was talk they were going to do the Lion King a year ago, and then going to do it. So I think
it's clear they thought it was such a good idea that they were going to hold out for the Olympics.
Well, they might not have had time to fix it. Because remember, Montreal was off the ice longer than other areas were. Right. So, I don't know. Are you worried about the Beijing Olympics? Like, what is your take as we get through Delta from like week to week? Like, are you feeling confident about it? Are you feeling not confident about it? I'm curious with the two of you. Like, how are you feeling? Like, you think it's gonna... It's the state of the world.
I'm just watching like Stephanie's eyes. She's like,
I have no poker face. I think that given how the Summer Olympics went off and everything seemed, we haven't really heard reports of, you know, tremendous amount of outbreaks and such. I think they did a great job. So hopefully they can take the lessons they learned from the Summer Olympics and implement them in the Beijing Olympics. But it still worries me. And I wouldn't, unless I'm on the plane on my way to the Olympics, I wouldn't be so secure that it's actually happening. Just with, I mean, like you said, it's day by day updates with everything happening.
And then the cancellation of Cup of China of all things.
Exactly.
Sort of being the one you were sort of like, oh. Ooh.
Yeah, I think that would have been a good test run.
Right. Well, and it was canceled from the amount of flights and the inability to establish a bubble, which seems vague and concerning in the way that
was your reasoning.
Yeah. Ooh. That was.
If they can't establish a bubble for a smaller scale competition, how are they going
to... do we remember what city it was supposed to be in? It wasn't supposed to be in Beijing, was it?
No.
So I don't know if it was due to the specific location or something, like more domestic flights once you're over there or something.
But then they could have moved the Cup of China to Beijing.
Yeah.
One would have thought.
As a, alternative.
Yeah, even like when they were doing, certain 4 continents the year ahead of time in Pyeongchang and all that sort of stuff to test out the facilities. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like of all of the places to have the Olympics, like
yeah.
in this pandemic, in this, like of all of the places to put it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't make things come more to a head. It's worrying. I don't know. I'm hopeful. So listen, as we see, these skaters don't have a year to waste. So you see what happened to Simone in a year. So it's concerning, and I hope for their sakes that it
needs to happen.
Fingers and toes, and at any moment, I don't know. It's a worrying thing, but what was your moment of the week, Jonathan? What did you think was the highlight for you of this week?
Oh gosh, sometimes I forget to think about this, and it does require some thought, does it not?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Isabeau.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Isabeau, just like. And also seeing, we sort of talked about her last year on the junior circuit and at nationals and all this sort of stuff. It was nice to see how many people, I think, were introduced to her this weekend and really got on board right away. So that was just lovely. And really just in general, the elevated music selections for 4 out of the top 5 ladies skaters here, it just enhanced the experience for me. I was like, this is the variation. After so many boring emo ballads, like this felt like such like a breath of fresh air. So I'm just gonna say the ladies' music selections in general.
How about for you, Steffi? What was your moment of the week?
I agree. I really enjoyed Isabeau.
Okay.
I know not to piggyback and not be original, but but no, she was just lovely. She really was. And the one spin, and not the one, but her spins and her spirals and her flexibility is just she's stunning.
Well, I'm going to have to say that there was a surprising moment that I wasn't expecting that I came across yesterday on social media. And it was one of those things where, you know, when you see something and you're like, wait, are they being like really shady to one another? And like, you have to like screenshot it and send it to a couple people who are in the know to like really take it in and being like, am I being crazy? Am I being like, is this just me and my view? And oh no, everyone said that they had the same reaction. So yesterday, Vanessa and Eric posted how much they love skating with their training mates in a picture. And within the hour, Kirsten Moore-Towers and Michael Marinaro had another post about how much they love training with their partners, who of course they credit with helping get the spots for Canada at the Olympics that Vanessa and Eric might take away. And I enjoy this passive-aggressive Canadian shade that's veiled under positivity and gratitude. I mean,
toxic positivity.
That is some next level Canadian behavior, and I am here for it, okay? And I don't know what spurred it. I just think the Canadians are incredible with this because they're just so poly-positive, and at the same time, there was more to that. And just spot on. It was incredible. All right, check it out. It happened. It was within the hour of one another. Okay, I didn't. It was not like a thank your training partner like holiday. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't National Training Partner Day. Yeah.
Holidays like post your dog Thursday. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, that to me was so interesting and so Canadian, and I am here for it. All right, this is clearly going to be a messy season, and that's why we're here to help you navigate. So
exactly.
Hope that can look sexy, everyone. By now. We had a PS moment because we forgot to discuss the
epilogue, a Russian epilogue.
She did a 90-minute interview this week. She let us know that she and Zagitova are not friends, which I think is news to no one.
Yeah, I was like.
I was waiting for some sort of, you know, climax to this story of, you know, her and Zagitova, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
That's why they need professional competitions, so that we can see it, because it's what my heart really roots. That's what we long to see. I think we were hearing that Medvedeva's done competing, even though she hasn't said, and she said maybe she'll come back, and now it seems where we know this is going. But I do think, come on, I want to see those girls compete against each other at some sort of World Pro event, 3 triples, Billie Eilish music, dramatics, theatrics. Let it happen, right? It's what we all deserve.
And again,
bring back Ice Wars.
Yes, but Russian style, you know.
Only Russian style. Yes.
Yeah, literally a Russian pro nationals, I would tune in for. I would pay for the streaming to watch like what would be 10 amazing ladies. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Ashley Wagner.
Yes. Okay. She can.
It's the MC.
Oh, she can be Roz. You know.
Okay.
You know how Roz would get paid like 20 grand to finish last in a pro-am where she'd be against Michelle Kwan and Nicole Bobek, and you'd be like, why is Roz there? Listen, she showed up and got her check every week. All right, every opportunity.
She did, and she brought personality too.
Like Ashley. Okay, so let Ashley go to Russia and show these girls how to shimmy and shake. But okay, in the Medvedeva article, she's now spinning the silver medal in like such poetic Russian fashion about how like it's now her.
You have to. What else are you supposed to do with it? Like Linda, remember she was like, I hid it under my bed.
Yes, you're honest like Linda. But what I like about Medvedeva is like she is the most Russian. Like she might be the most Russian we've met since Oksana Bayul. Like she has the most emotion, the most character, the best quotes, the best entertainment value. I mean, every interview that she gets, like what mood is she going to be in this week? I don't know how she's feeling, but they could talk to her from, and I think we'd get a completely different interview. Where like And I like that they're still asking her the same questions about Orser and Eteri and
yeah, I think they're not always, these interviewers don't seem as informed as we might think, and that's why they sort of go back to the old, like, really common talking points of
I don't think it's about
ago.
information. I think it's about prodding to try to see what they can get out, because that's a headline.
Yeah.
It's strategy, because
this many years later, why Eteri? What was Eteri like? Was Eteri good for? I mean, it became very much like a praise fest in the beginning too. Another one, reaffirming that without that aggressive approach, it wouldn't have worked for her. That she was condoning the over-the-top sort of obsessive nature of their training, and she felt without it, it would never.
Well, it's all she knows, and then when she
when she left. Then the questions about Brian Orser and how much he charges and who pays for it.
I love that. So that's, there's subtext there about how much money was being spent for her to go. I mean, obviously money is not appropriate to discuss in some terms, but there are nuances to that she's not letting in. And with any skater, when they get contracts and how it's being funded and where's the money coming from, and there's other sources of funds other than just prize money from competitions or shows. So, but yeah, I was like, oh, Orser's $100 an hour. That's cheaper than the New Jersey rates. I was like, okay. But what they leave out there is that you have to join the cricket club, which is,
it's like a country club kind of dues.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's another story. Yeah.
And they did talk about maybe minimizing distractions. So dating was highly discouraged.
I couldn't believe, like, maybe it's after watching the Free Britney documentary where they were asking Britney all those inappropriate questions, but they were asking about, like, girls having boyfriends and remaining virgins and, like, all of this stuff in the Russian press. And you're like, oh my God, what are we talking about? Like,
I thought it was a bit of an uncomfortable question.
Yes.
Yeah, as much as everyone is obsessed with, like, Simone Biles going into the Olympics, I don't think it was that kind of questioning coming from the press or that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Could you imagine if Simone got those kind of questions? You would be torn apart. It's
just rather shocking. But again, after they asked Jason who he thought won World War II, I was like, I'm unfamiliar with this skating line of questioning. Like, Ice Network, this is not a Lynn Rutherford article.
They are trying to have them for headlines. They are just.
And we're not used to those kinds of publications, I guess, covering skating as much.
They want to win more than the rest of us. They want to get that headline more than the rest of us. Like, you have to respect it. All right.
Yeah.
You know that after she gives that interview, there is going to be an article come out. The girls must be virgins. Exactly. That will be the headline. So
that will be.
With the line just underneath it, how much Brian Orser charges.
Yeah, we don't have this kind of coverage over here.
No, we sure don't.
No.
I think the public would be horrified if they knew, like, what the actual costs were. Like, that would be fun, right? That would be enjoyable for everyone to break down.
But again, was that more interesting to Russia because they felt the federation was covering those costs as opposed to the
funded in a different way. So the way that the coaches are contracted to work for the skater. Remember, this is why there was so much drama when Kosternaya left at a certain time, with the funding and all of the drama that has happened over the last several seasons when people have switched coaches and who was getting the money for which skater and where they're representing. It's just a different fee structure. Right. And listen, no one is poor in skating in this situation. Like, these skaters are taken care of very well. Relative to, economics and income and things like that. But Kristen, you've seen Eteri's Louis Vuitton jacket. She's doing okay. She is doing.
But she does always wear the same one. So I'm just saying,
And she does have the mom jeans. I mean, she could upgrade the jeans.
Jessica Simpson got really a lot of shit for her jeans, and Eteri's jeans are just not what they could have been. Okay. But
amazing. Yeah.
The rest of her looked fantastic in person. I thought the plastic surgery was on point. I thought that. well, not the color of the hair, but the overall vibe was so strong. But
just gave you the image of finished. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like her to maybe spend a little more time in Boston. We'll, take her to like Bergdorf's and we can, get her hair done, or, take her to Saks and,
Yeah,
we can
amazing.
help her,
Yeah.
We want her to look like the queen that she is, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm very concerned for her look.
We're very concerned for her, yeah. She's clearly in a vulnerable state. She clearly
in every interview that's like, the abuse is worth it because it yields results, and it's like, hope her hair looks fabulous while she's doing it. Yikes. Okay.
Well, then it should look sexy, everyone. But